Sawadee-kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and I'm starting a 4-part series to help you learn Buddhist chanting. Over the next 4 classes, I'm going to be helping students to build up their chanting practice. There's 3 specific chants that I do prior to meditation and at the end of meditation, and this helps ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. There's other benefits as well, which I'm going to explain to you first. That's how we're going to start our class. Even though I know we normally start with meditation, I'm going to be starting with explaining to you the benefits of meditation. Then we're going to, the benefits of chanting. Then we're going to go into learning the chants. And then after we learn the chants and we put them all together, probably at the very end, we'll put those together with an actual meditation session. So welcome to all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. If you'd like to learn these chants, you're more than welcome to. You might need to have a glass of water close by or something like that, because there's going to be lots of chanting and using your voice, and you might need a little extra sip of water here and there. So first, let's just talk about the benefits of chanting. And actually, even before we do that, let me talk about this. Let's discuss the history of chanting and where chanting comes about before we even talk about the benefits of it. Where chanting came about is during the lifetime of the Buddha. They used chanting as a way to commit the teachings to memory, that during his lifetime, everything was taught orally. So they needed to use something in order to commit the teachings to memory, because the technology to write things down didn't exist in that region of the world. The Buddha was born in Nepal, which we refer to as Nepal, and he was teaching in what we refer to as Northeast India. The technology to write things down existed in China, but it hadn't made its way to that part of the world yet. And we probably don't see writing things down as technology, but that was technology 2,500 years ago, to be able to write things down. The language that the Buddha spoke didn't even have a script to it, that it was an oral language, because a lot of the languages during that time frame were actually just oral, because they didn't have a reason to have a script, because there was no technology to write things down. So it was just spoken words. So these chants that I'm going to teach you, I don't know that they were created by the Buddha. I suspect they were actually created by his students, either during his life or after his death, because you're going to see a lot of admiration and respect and gratitude for the Buddha. And the Buddha doesn't go around, kind of saying, here, chant these things to me out of respect for me. That would be ego and arrogance if you did that. And an enlightened being, and surely a Buddha, would have eliminated their ego, so he wouldn't have done that. So the chants that we're doing today most likely weren't created by the Buddha, but during his lifetime, they would come together every 2 weeks in order to recite his teachings word for word for word for word. If you didn't chant during the lifetime of the Buddha, you wouldn't have been able to get to enlightenment. It was a necessity as part of your learning process to be able to commit the teachings to your memory. So these chants that I'm going to teach you, they're not a rite or ritual or a ceremony or worship or prayer or anything like that. It is to help ease your mind into meditation, and there's some other benefits to this as well. And this originates over 2,500 years ago during the lifetime of the Buddha. So during the Buddha's lifetime, when he was teaching meditation, you'll see in his own words, if you study his words around meditation, he talks about setting up mindfulness in front of you before you start meditating. He'll regularly mention this when he's guiding students in meditation. He will instruct them and guide them to set up mindfulness in front of you. Well, what mindfulness is awareness of mind. So for me, what chanting does is it helps to set up this awareness of mind. The Buddha is teaching you not to just plop down into meditation, because you're not going to really get the benefits that you need. I mean, you might decide to go use the bathroom. You might decide to do a little stretching. You might get comfortable, whatever your position is that you're going to do for meditation. And now you start bringing some general awareness to the mind. And you can do that with chanting or without chanting. But what chanting does for me, one of the benefits is that it helps to set up mindfulness in front of you. It starts bringing this awareness to the mind, because in order to chant, you're going to need to have awareness of mind. It helps to develop this concentration and this memory, because it's like exercising the mind. If you never exercise the mind, it wouldn't actually build the qualities that you need. So today we have so many modern conveniences, the mind is almost incapable in practicing concentration and memory, because we have things like smartphones that store phone numbers. One time, some of us can remember when you had to remember the phone number. right? And you maybe used a rotary dial phone that was really hard because if you missed just one number, you had to start all the way back over at the beginning, right? So we needed to be very focused and very concentrated and have a lot of memory just to be able to call someone on the phone, where we don't exercise our mind that way anymore because we have all these modern conveniences and they've made life easier for us. But at the same time, we need to be very active and very attentive to the mind in order to be sure we exercise it. It's almost like taking it to the gym. So the chanting is a great way to build this awareness of mind, this concentration, and this memory, because you're going to need to build those qualities in order to be able to actually chant. While you're chanting, you'll have this awareness of the breath. I'm going to be instructing you guys and guiding you in how to chant, and I'm going to show you where the breath is. It's not that you necessarily have to breathe at exactly the spot that I'm teaching to breathe, but as you're chanting, no matter where you breathe, you're going to need to have some awareness of the breath. If you have ever done some singing or you've ever talked to professional singers, they're very aware of their breath. You need to have really good breath control in order to sing. So it's the same thing with chanting, that you're going to need to have a certain awareness of the breath. It also helps to slow, relax, and ease the mind into meditation, because if you just plop down in the meditation, you might be coming from outside and now your mind's overactive and you just plop down in the meditation. It can oftentimes be somewhat challenging to get your meditation going. So if you have this practice before the chanting, if you have this practice before the meditation, which is chanting, it'll help to slow and relax and ease the mind into your meditation, and you'll actually get more benefit out of the meditation itself. It can also give you this audible indication that your practice is improving. When I first started, my mind was so cluttered and it was like hitting a brick wall anytime I would meditate. It was like, man, I just couldn't really see the progress early on because I didn't really know what I was doing and my mind was so cluttered, but I was practicing chanting. And what I noticed is week to week, session to session, I noticed this improvement to the chanting. And I was like, wow, this is kind of fun. I kind of enjoy this. So it gave me this audible indication that what I was doing was improving, and it gave me some encouragement and some motivation and enthusiasm to be able to continue practicing. So this is something that can help you too. And I also noticed that it helped to cultivate respect and gratitude for the elders, including Gotama Buddha. What I mean by elders is that these chants didn't just plop into our lap. These chants were preserved for many, many centuries as they were being handed down from one person to another. The only reason why we have them is because the elders, the people before us, got benefit from them and they felt that they were something to preserve. And of course, they were preserved in writing, but oftentimes things like this are preserved in people's minds and in their hearts, right? Not physically in the heart, of course, but you understand what I mean by that is that people have a real affection towards things that are beneficial to them. So there's this long chain of people in the past that we'll never know their names, and they pass these teachings down all throughout the years. And now here they are in our hands. And depending on what we do with these teachings is going to depend on what the next generation experiences. So if we learn these teachings and we practice these teachings, then other people around us can learn them as well. And then in effect, we are preserving them for future generations because they live in the hearts and in the minds of individual human beings. So cultivating this gratitude and respect for all people in your life is part of the path to enlightenment. So this chanting can help you cultivate this gratitude and respect for the elders and for Gotama Buddha. And then that can maybe bubble over into maybe relationships like your mom or your dad or your brothers and sisters, your boss, your coworkers, people like this. It's important to understand not only what the benefits of chanting are and what chanting is, but it's also important to understand what chanting isn't. Chanting isn't anything mystical or magical. There's no mystical or magical benefits. You can't recite some words and then instantly some magical thing's going to happen. There's some people that will tell you if you chant this special chant, you're going to get rich and wealthy. Or if you chant this special chant, you're going to be extra healthy. Or if you chant this special chant, you're going to get this extra long life. Or if you chant this special chant, you're going to get your boyfriend or your girlfriend back, right? There's no ability for that to occur. And you can see the truth for yourself in these situations. Because first of all, if there was a chant like that people would instantly get wealthy or even over time would get wealthy, don't you think that would have like spread like wildfire throughout humanity by now? Because humans, you go to a restaurant and you have a good meal, you can't wait to tell all your friends about it, right? If you can imagine having this chant that over the course of a few weeks or even a month or two, you become rich and wealthy, people would spread that all over the place, right? That's not how things happen in the world. Things happen by cause and effect or action and result. Or if there's this chant that'll help you get this extra long life and you go visit this temple and they say, hey, this is a secret chant that only our temple knows. And if you chant this 10 times a day, you're going to get this extra long life. Well, what I'm sharing with you is this isn't true. And I teach you don't believe people. Don't believe that person and don't believe me either. If somebody tells you something like that, independently verify it. If they're saying, hey, this is a secret chant that you get an extra long life and our temple's the only temple that knows this, well, look around the temple. Do you see people that are 150, 200, 300 years old? If you do, then hey, there's probably some truth to this. But if you don't see that, then, it's not likely that this thing is that way, because the reason why someone's life is extended is based on your wise decision making. Humans are incapable of living 150, 200, 300 years old. So you're not going to get this extra long life just from chanting. You need to make wise decisions about things like eating and exercise and the condition of your mind and all these kinds of things. That's what's going to lead to your long life, not this special chanting. So the chants that I teach you are very common chants, and I'm going to introduce them to you here in a moment. But before I do, I would like to just pause and see if you guys have any questions on the benefits of chanting and what chanting is and what chanting isn't and why I actually do chanting. You can put this into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to move into teaching you guys the first chant. It's referred to as the triple gem or the triple jewel. And the reason why is because it pays respect and gratitude to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. Whenever you see 3 in the teachings of the Buddha, it's referring to these 3 things called the triple gem or the triple jewel. What the Buddha teaches you is you wouldn't be able to actually attain enlightenment without having confidence in the Buddha, access to his teachings, and if you were part of a community. If you just had one of these things or even 2 of these things, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So if you had confidence in the Buddha, but you didn't have access to his teachings and you weren't part of a community, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if you had access to his teachings, but you didn't have confidence in him and you weren't part of a community, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if you were just part of a community and you didn't have confidence in the Buddha and you didn't have access to his teachings, then you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Oftentimes when people first come to the path, they don't have confidence in the Buddha. And that's understandable. That's normal because they haven't investigated his teachings yet. The way that you actually gain confidence in a teacher is you investigate their teachings and you see that they're actually working. And that's where you gain your confidence. So this chant is called the triple gem or triple jewel because there's 3 phrases, and each individual phrase is paying respect to one of those things, either the Buddha, the teachings, or the community. The way that I'm going to teach you guys these 3 different chants that I chant, not just this one, but there's 2 others, is I'm going to do them 4 times with you guys. The first time I'm going to do it by myself, just so you can hear what it sounds like and you can follow along in the words and just hear it and somebody chanting it. Then I'm going to chant it a second time alone, where I'm going to show you guys where I'm actually breathing so you can know where you can potentially breathe. Then we'll do it a third time. And then the third time, we'll all do it together. You can actually chant along. And I'll be guiding you and instructing you as we're doing that third time and showing you where the breath is. Then the fourth time, we'll do it with no guidance, no nothing. All of us will do it together. I'll be chanting with you, but I'm not going to be instructing you of where the breath is. And this way you can gradually build up your practice. Okay, so here's how this first one sounds. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava โหตังมหาแควันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาแควตาธัมโมดามังนามาสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาแควโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามิ Okay, that's the first time through. And what you guys might have noticed is that I moved my hands up towards my forehead and did like a bow. And this is out of respect for the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. Sometimes when you're in a large group of people and they're starting an event at a Buddhist temple, they will start with this chant. And you might notice the people are bowing to the floor. Here in Thailand, we refer to this as a klop, that you're clopping, right? You're bowing to the floor, you're prostrating towards the floor. And the reason why is because it's helping your mind to be able to eliminate ego. If you would like to do that, you can. You don't have to. Even this little gesture that I'm doing with the hands, it's optional, right? It's your practice. You do whatever you would like to do. You can chant and you can use this bowing if you like, but you don't have to. In fact, nowadays, chanting isn't required to get to enlightenment. This is the one thing that I will teach you, that if you didn't do it, you would still be able to get to enlightenment. Everything else that I teach, you're going to need to learn that in order to be able to get to enlightenment. But this is an optional thing. But if you don't actually do these particular chants, you're still going to need to do something to accomplish these benefits that I mentioned previously, where you're setting up mindfulness in front of you, you're developing the mind's awareness and concentration and memory, you're going to need to get awareness of the breath, you're going to ease the mind into meditation, you're going to need to develop this respect and gratitude for the elders and things of that nature. So here, this bowing that I do, and whether you even do chanting or not, it's completely optional. It's your practice. What you'll notice is that when you first try to do something brand new, your mind typically will kind of reject it and push it aside. And that's because it doesn't like impermanence. It doesn't like change typically. So if you do something and you do it for a consistent period of time, you'll have a better perspective of whether that's actually helping you or not when you get 2, 3, 4 weeks into it. Whereas if you try it one time and you're like, I don't like it, and you push it aside, this could just be from craving, desire, attachment in the mind. So what you would like to do is learn these things, practice them for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and then decide later whether or not you're going to keep this around based on your practice. And then, by the way, for any of you guys that are listening to this through pure audio, if you would like to get access to these chants, you can go to our website, where you go to buddhadailywisdom.com, click on free books, and then down towards the bottom, you'll be able to see the chants, because in the class, I'm using the visual aid. These chants also show up in the book series. If you go to volume 1, chapter 11, you'll see them there as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a second time, but I'm going to show you guys where I'm breathing so that you'll know that this is an ideal place for you to take a breath. But whether you take a breath there or not, when we actually do it together, is up to you. So what I do is I take a nice deep breath here at the beginning with my hands together, palm to palm. And after I take that deep breath, I then go, Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. And then I'm going to take a nice breath here. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. And then as I'm bowing, I'm taking my next breath. Sawakato Bhagavata Tammo. Little breath here. Dhammang Namasami. Again, as I'm bowing, I'm taking a nice deep breath. Supatipano Bhagavato. Little breath here. Sawaka Sankho. Little breath here. Sanghang namami. And then as I'm bowing, I'm going to take a nice deep breath and lead into the next chant. Okay, so that's the second time through. Now let's do it a third time where you guys join in. You can leave your mics off because the internet won't sync up our voices, but at least you'll be able to practice it, right? So if you'd like to practice along, even if you're listening to this on the recording, you can practice along. So take a nice deep breath here, and if you'd like to put your hands together, you can. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. Little breath here. Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami. Nice deep breath. Sawakato Mahakavata Tammo. Breath. Dhammang Namasami. Breath. Supatipano Mahakavato. Little breath. Sāvaka Saṅkho. Little breath. Sanghang namami. Okay, that's where we take our breath and kind of move into the next chant. Okay, so now we'll do it a fourth time, and I'm not going to instruct you on the breath. We'll just do it just together. You'll kind of get in the habit of doing it. Okay, so here we go. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. Bhutang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami. Sāvakato Mahakavata Tammo. Dhammang Namasami. Supatipano Mahakavato. Sāvaka Saṅkho. Sanghang namami. Okay, maybe we should give you a round of applause on that one. All right. Give yourself a round of applause. Okay. All right, let me see if you guys have any questions on this chant. Remember, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom. Ask any questions that you like. All right, looks like Ted or Kristen has a question.
Okay, so it's hard to get I've been practicing enough where I kind of know the sound of the Paka. It's, I don't even know, PHA-KA. Like, how do you say that? Because I want to say Baka, but that's not how you say it.
Yeah, it's Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. It's kind of like a little bit of a soft beat. Mahakawa. It's not too strong. Mahakawa.
Okay.
David, I want to add to that question because it's all about P's for me right now. Like the same first line, SAM-PUTTO, that P is pronounced different than the PHA. It sounds like the first P is like a puto, and then the PH is like I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the first one is puto. This one is pakawa. Pakawa. Okay. So what we're doing is we're taking this oral language and we're turning it into, English script, and we're trying to use English script to represent what we're saying. So you'll see different variations of this. Different people will write it out in English and with different characters, but this is how I write it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, and my last question was when we were in Thailand and we would go to the temples, I noticed that folks were bowing 3 times, and I was wondering what the 3 meant exactly. Is there a reason they do it 3 and not like 5?
Yeah, whenever you see 3, it's always this triple gem, this triple jewel. One's for the Buddha, one's for the community. I'm sorry, one's for the Buddha, one's for the teachings, and one's for the community.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions anywhere. So let's go to this next one. And some people find this one a lot easier because it's just one phrase repeated 3 times. If you're like a Thai child growing up here in Thailand, and you first start mouthing a few words, they will start teaching you this chant. Like I've seen little, 2-year-olds that are able to chant this chant. So when I learned this one first, and then I went back to the Arahang and learned that one. And then I went to the next one. The next one has a lot more syllables. So if you'd like to break it down that way, you could do that. You could learn the Namo Tassa first, and then go to the Arahang and then the third one. Or you could just learn all 3 at the same time, which that's what a lot of people do. But you might find this one to be a little bit easier. And a lot of the syllables that show up here are in the other ones as well. So again, we're going to do it 4 times. So here's how it sounds. Namo Arahasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Arahasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Arahasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, so that's how it sounds. But now I'm going to come in and show you where the breath is. Okay, so what I do is I have that nice deep breath on the way in coming from the other chant, and then it goes Namo Arahasa Bhagavato. There's a breath here. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Breath here. Namo Arahasa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Big breath here. Namo Arahasa Bhagavato. Little breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. And then a nice deep breath again on your way to the next chant. There's no bowing typically with this one. So here it's just the same phrase repeated 3 times. And while I'm showing you where I breathe, you might be able to take a breath and go all the way through the whole thing. And if that's the case, then go for it. But you will notice a natural pause here, that the whole community will tend to pause in that same spot. And chanting is actually different from temple to temple. You could probably imagine, because you understand the universal truth of impermanence now, that region to region throughout the Buddhist world, you will see that the chants are a little bit different. Where in this tradition, the Theravada tradition, whether you're in Sri Lanka or Thailand or Myanmar or Laos or even North America, they will chant these same chants, but there's a little bit of a different dialect. But there's this unifying language of Pali that if you went to Sri Lanka and you sat down and chanted, you could chant right along with them. But you're going to have a little bit of a Thai dialect, because the way that I chant is I heard it through the Thai people, so I heard it from them. So that's why I chanted in a way that a Thai person chants. But a person from Sri Lanka would chant this as well. And instead of saying like, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma, they'll say Sam Buddho Sa instead of Sambuddhassa. So it sounds similar. So you can actually chant with anybody in the tradition. You can actually go to a temple you've never been to and actually sit down and chant. And they'll tend to pause in that same spot. So region to region, you'll have different dialects, but even places here in Thailand, like temple to temple, you'll see some slight differences in their chanting because it really comes down to how's their teacher chanting, and people tend to chant the same way as their teacher. So keep that in mind as you're learning this, that there isn't just one right way to chant, because that would be the ego, that would be arrogance if we thought that way, and that would be a lack of wisdom of the universal truth of impermanence. Okay? So now that you guys have had heard me do this chant and you saw me go through and show you where the breaths are, now let's do it together. And remember, I'm guiding you in the breath, but it's up to you. It's your practice. Okay? So here, you might decide to take a nice deep breath. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Okay, so that's the third time through with coaching the breath. Okay, so now let's do it a fourth time, and I won't coach the breath at all. You'll just be able to go right through it and just breathe where you're comfortable to breathe. Okay? Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Arahato. Hold on. I thought I was doing the last one. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to do this one again. Let's start from the top. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Arhasa Bhagavato. Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Okay, that's the third or the second one. I'm misspeaking today. I'm a little bit sleepy. I've been really active with a lot of things here in Chiang Mai. So apologize for that. But that's what you need to do, is just laugh things off, right? Don't take life too serious. Okay, let me know if you guys have any questions here with this particular chant. You can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, so now we'll go to the third one. And I found this one more challenging when I learned them, but some people say it's easier for them, right? Because that's impermanence too. Not everybody's going to have the same experience with a particular chant or learning a chant. So you might decide for yourself as you're learning this to see how it goes. But there definitely are a lot more syllables here. I refer to this one as the ETPSO, but I'm not sure there's other ways to refer to it. Again, I'm going to do it 4 times for you. So here's the first one. Here's how it sounds. Iti piso mahakawa arahang sama sambuddho vichacharanang sambuddho Sakato roka vitu Anuttaro purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang Hoto bhagavati. Okay, you guys might be hearing the breaths by now because you're hearing that natural pause, perhaps. Okay, so I take that nice deep breath coming in from the last chant, and it goes Iti piso imakawa. There's a breath here. Arahang samma sambuddho. Breath. Vichacharanang sammuno. Breath here. Sakatoro kawitu. Big breath here. Anuttaro purisa. Little breath. Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang. Breath here. Hoto bhagavati. I kind of drag that last one out and I do a nice little bow at the end. You might hear Thai people say it, bhagavati, and they will just stop, right? So I kind of drag it out because I think it sounds nicer. And then I do a nice bow at the end. Okay, so let's do it a third time where you guys can join in this time. And now you can chant along and I'll guide you in the breath. Okay, so here we go. Iti piso imakawa. Breathe. Arahang samma sambuddho. Breath. Vichacharanang sammuno. Breath. Sakatoro kawitu. Breath. Anuttaro purisa. Breath. Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang. Breath. Hoto bhagavati. Okay, so that was the third time through on this one. But now let's do it a fourth time where I'm not going to guide you in the breath at all. Okay, so here we go. Iti piso imakawa. Arahang samma sambuddho. Vichacharanang sammuno. Sakatoro kawitu. Anuttaro purisa. Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang. Hoto bhagavati. Okay, claps. Yeah, that was the fourth time through. All right. All right, let me know if you guys have questions here. Any of the syllables or any of the other stuff that we've been talking about, feel free to let me know. Okay. Yeah, I see you guys taking a drink of water. I think I need to do the same. Okay. All right, looks like maybe Kristen or Ted have a question. Go ahead, guys.
David, just a statement. That's pretty damn hard. But just the inflection of different words and Yeah, it's different, and I'm really trying not to say, "Oh, I don't need that." I'd really like to try to learn it. Although I'm so worried about how I sound, and in front of my wife, who I'll do anything in front of, but it's still like maybe the neighbors will hear me or something, and the dogs will start howling. I don't know, but yeah.
So that's that personal existence view kicking in, right? Being concerned and worried about how other people perceive you. So do it more, do it more, do it out in the park where people are walking and they can actually hear you. That'll help you a lot. Keep in mind that I've been chanting since 2002, 2003, right? So I've got a few years of chanting under my belt. So I didn't sound like this when I first started, the way that I'm chanting. That rolling R, that took me forever to get that, right? Anu te ro ri sa. That took a long time. The American tongue doesn't do that very easily. So you guys are going to need to practice that. So, I've got a good 21, 22 years of chanting. So take your time. Don't put pressure on yourself. You're not in a race. You're not in a competition with anybody. Let that personal existence view go. Don't worry about how people perceive you, and all will be well. Okay, so here's what I suggest we do. I suggest we go all the way back to the beginning, and we actually chant all three chants all the way through. No guidance, no pausing, no nothing, just all the way through. You guys game? You guys game? Thumbs up? All right, I see some thumbs up. All right, so let's start from the very beginning, okay? So you guys are on your own for the breathing. We'll just put it all together, okay? Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Hotang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti pisu mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anu Tero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Oto Bhagavati. Okay. First time through, all the way. Yay. American Idol's going to be calling you guys. Maybe The Voice, perhaps. All right. All right. So here's what I do if you guys are up for it. Usually at this point, I invite you guys to do some meditation together. If you guys would like to put this together with meditation, what we can do is we can do the 3 chants, go into meditation, and then we can meditate and then come out of the meditation with the chanting. That way you kind of get used to putting it all together. You guys interested in doing some meditation? Yeah, see some heads nodding, thumbs up. All right. All right. So that's what we'll do then is we'll just ease in with the chanting now that you guys know the chanting. And you guys will get plenty of practice with this because every time that I'm meditating with you guys, I'm using the chants. Okay. So we'll chant and then we'll go into the meditation and I'll guide you guys. Then there'll be that period of time where it's quiet and then we'll come out of the meditation with the chanting. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti Pisu Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sambuddho Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Oto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, in the upper body erect. Just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here, you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind has moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. สัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเขวาโพตังมหาเขวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสคาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโอโตภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, I'm going to see if you guys have any questions at all about anything whatsoever. We just did our chanting, but if you guys have questions about anything related to the path to enlightenment, you can let me know by putting that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. Okay, not seeing any questions anywhere. So what I'll do then is just invite you guys to attend next time when we're doing part 2 of our 4-part series, where we'll just be doing the chants together, and then we'll be going into meditation. So you guys will get a chance to experience that more practice, and then using meditation after the chanting. And you guys can be practicing these between now and next week. If you go to that website that I mentioned, buddhadailywisdom.com, and click on free books, down towards the bottom where you can print that daily chanting sheet, you can just have it wherever you normally meditate, and you can just do some chanting before and after you meditate. I used to sometimes just go and actually do some practice of the chanting. Sometimes I would do each chant 3 times, like the Arahang, the Namo Tassa, the Iti Piso, or sometimes I would just go through all 3 of them in a row over and over and over again 3 times. Then I would go into meditation. Then I would come out doing them 3 times. And this way it gives you extra practice. One time through takes about 2.5 minutes. So if you did it 3 times all the way through, that's 7.5 minutes. And I've recorded podcasts and YouTube videos where it's just 2.5 minutes of me chanting. It's from the beginning to the end. There's nothing else whatsoever. You could easily be playing that while you're actually developing your chanting practice. So you have somebody to chant along with and kind of hear the pronunciation and the cadence and the tone and the tempo and the things like that. So next week on Wednesday, I'll be in part 2, guiding you guys some more to build up your chanting practice. This Sunday, we're in the group learning program. We're going to be learning chapter 5, which is the Eightfold Path. This is the path for all humans to enlightenment. So you guys are welcome to come to that class. You really would need to know that inside and out, backwards and forwards, to be able to even really make your way towards enlightenment in any respects. So that's the core central teaching of the Buddha. And then, of course, on Saturdays, we have the Pali Canon and English study group, which you guys are always welcome to attend that as well. So have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day, whatever you do. Be well and take care. Sawadee ka.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.